A Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
Here are the racers in the 2012 Piston Cup season, where Mike Wheelhouse is returning from the 2nd Division after being gone in 2011. Matt Carl is a new backup racer, and also Ricky Speedhouse Jr. will be racing part-time this season alongside Danica Speedtrick. Sam Carnish Jr. is also returning from the 2nd Division. Jamarcus Cakart is also a new rookie this season. And Clint Bokar, as alongside Tony Gasworth, have new looks. Same with Chad Motorgas and Matt Karzith. Chris Baldwin is also a new backup racer to Bobby Swift. AJ Carmendinger also has a new look in the number 22. There are two more rookies, Jose Madrigal and Sebastian Silva. And here's the next section of racers, where Austin Hicks is a new racer, and Aaron Breakwheel is a new rookie for this season. Terry Carboni also has a new look. Same with David Raycar, and Tyler Drivewell will be retiring at the end of the season. Cody Lightyear is a new backup racer. Michael Cartrip also has a new look, and Eric Carmarola is returning from the 2nd Division. And here are a bunch of other cars that we've all seen last season. If you're new here, well... Oh! Kurt Buschtire has a new look. Same with Mark Carton and Brian Vickers, both in the number 55. Mitchell Carblow is another new rookie. And Johnny Spinner will be retiring at the end of the season, unfortunately. David Rudikar also has a new look. And here are some other racers that have been around last season. Landon Carsell also has a new look in the number 83. Dale Earnhardt Jr. also has a new look in a different paint scheme. And also, Ernie Gearson is still racing. He's the number 93, same with Travis Draftville. And here are other cars, of course. If you missed it, Scott Speed now is the number 95. Now into the number 100s, nothing really changed here. Greg Speedland and Slide Miller will both be retiring at the end of the season. And here are the last of the racers this season. Ace Arrowhead has the highest number with the number 832. Tyler Carslayer, Harry Simpcar, and Fred Autopower will all be going down into the lower divisions. Unfortunately, Scott Windows, Tom Trimtire, and of course, Bobby Gearshift have retired. They will not be racing in the 2012 Piston Cup season, as they had announced their retirements before the start of the season. Carl Edwards will start at pole position for the 2012 Florida 500, with Greg Beeple, his teammate, to his outside. Row 2 has the 2002 Piston Cup champion Tony Gasworth, with Matt Karzith to his outside. Row 3 has Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Cal Weathers, the 2008 Piston Cup champion. Row 4 has Brick Yardley and the two-time Florida 500 champion Lightning McQueen. Row 5 has the jumper Jeff Burnton and Jimmy Cables, who impressed in practice, to his outside. Row 6 has TG Castlenut and the mean orange car, Joey Lagirno. Row 7 has Kevin Carvick and the mean yellow car, Kyle Buschtire. Row 8 has AJ Carmeninger in a new look, and the defending champion, Bobby Swift, to his outside. Row 9 has Phil Tankson and the Rocket, Ryan Newcar, to his outside. Row 10 has Jamie McCarry and Casey Corner in a new look, to his outside. Row 11 has Ricky Speedhouse Jr. and Mark Carton. Both of these cars are racing part-time. Row 12 has Brad Karslowski and Reb Meeker to his outside. Row 13 has Rex Revler and Brick Hicks, who also impressed during practice. Row 14 has Martin Carrix Jr. and Eric Carmarola making his first start in this race. Row 15 has Kurt Buschtire and Clint Bokar. Both have new looks for this season. Row 16 has Denny Carlin and Mike Yankee Jr. in the number 100. Row 17 has Maury Clutchburn and Chip Gearings, who will hopefully not wreck out this race. Row 18 has Ernie Gearson, who has been racing in this series since 1973, and Paul Racedraft to his outside. Row 19 has Jack DePost and Jamarcus Cakart, who many thought would not qualify for this race. Row 20 has Todd Marcus and Joe Brakecheck, another racer that others underestimated. Row 21 has Juan Pablo Montoya and James Garrison to his outside, and starting in 43rd is the other jumper, Doug Throttleman. And all of these cars, among many others, failed to qualify for this race. How did Speedy fail to qualify? Carl Edwards would lead the first lap of the race before his teammate Greg People would take the lead from him. And he would lead until lap 9 of this race. But on lap 1, unfortunately, Chip Gearings would be out because of an engine failure. And Rex Revler would also hit the wall too hard and need to go into the garage. So he's also out. Lightning McQueen would take the lead on lap 9, but then he'd only lead for 2 laps before Greg People would retake the lead, leading another 4 laps before Cal Weathers would take the lead for himself. He would lead for 2 laps before Denny Carlin would take the lead from him, leading all the way until lap 40. Unfortunately, his teammate, the Mean Orange Car, would be 20th as of lap 25. Who does he wreck? Jack the Post! Why, you Mean Orange Car? And then Jeff Burnton would take the lead on lap 40 and lead for 15 laps before Jimmy Cables would take the lead for himself, leading for 3 laps before Tony Gasworth would take the lead from him, leading for 3 laps before Jeff Burnton would be back in the lead, leading for 4 more laps before Doug Throttleman would take the lead from him. He started out from the back, but 3 laps later, Greg People would retake the lead, leading all the way until lap 76 before Martin Carx Jr. would take the lead from him, leading all the way until lap 81. Unfortunately, on lap 81, Brick Yardley would be out because of a cut tire. Greg People would take the lead after the restart and lead for 7 laps before Cal Weathers would once again take the lead, leading until lap 94, where Bobby Swift, the defending champion, would take the lead for himself, leading for 6 laps before Martin Carx Jr. would take the lead from him. He would lead for just 2 laps before Denny Carlin would take the lead. He would lead for 12 laps before Kurt Bushtire would be out on lap 113 because of an engine failure. And then, Kurt Bushtire, don't say that word! Lightning McQueen would take the lead after the restart and lead until lap 115, where Denny Carlin would retake the lead. He would lead for 14 laps before Greg People would retake the lead, leading for just 2 more laps before Mark Carton would take the lead from him, leading 2 laps before Greg People would retake the lead, leading for 6 more laps before Ernie Gearson would be out on lap 138 because he got too tired. And then Denny Carlin would take the lead after the pit cycle. And then on lap 143, Joey Lagirno, the Mean Orange Car, would take the lead. 3 laps later, Cal Weathers would retake the lead, leading for just 1 lap before Matt Karzith would take the lead for himself, leading until lap 153, where Bobby Swift would take the lead from him. He would lead for just 2 laps before Matt Karzith would be back in the lead for 3 laps before his teammate Greg People would take the lead from him, leading for 2 laps before TG Castlenut would take the lead off of pit cycles. But Joey Lagirno has to be 13th as of lap 158, where he wrecks James Garrison. Why? He's the good guy! And Juan Papa Montoya would be out on lap 159 because he crashed into a jet dryer. This was him after he crashed into that jet dryer, which was on the track because John Hicks dumped a giant bucket of water onto the track. Why, you mean car? Reb Meeker would take the lead on lap 159 and lead until lap 164, where Matt Karzith would take the lead for himself, leading for 40 laps, but during that time, Todd Marcus would be out on lap 164 because of an engine failure. And 13 laps later, AJ Carmeninger would be out for the same reason. On lap 204, Lightning McQueen would retake the lead, leading for 4 more laps. In the meanwhile, Brad Kozlowski would be 25th as of lap 206, when he wrecked himself by accident and Eric Carmarola. Why? Jamie McCurry would be out on lap 208 because of an engine failure. Paul Racedraft would take the lead on the same lap and lead for 1 lap before Cal Weathers would take the lead for himself, leading 2 more laps before Lightning McQueen would retake the lead for 6 laps before Greg People would retake the lead. leading all the way until lap 223, where Denny Carlin would take the lead from himself once again. Then in the very next lap, Bobby Swift would take the lead from him, leading for 5 laps before Lightning McQueen would lead the field once again, leading until lap 233, where Mark Carton would take the lead from himself, leading for just 2 laps before Denny Carlin would be back in the lead, leading for 4 more laps before Jimmy Cables would take the lead, leading for 7 laps before Martin Carrix Jr. would take the lead from himself, leading for just 2 laps. Then Phil Tankson would take the lead on lap 247 and lead for 2 laps before he would have an engine failure. And now he's out when he was leading, and Joey Logano laughed at him. Why? Lightning McQueen would take the lead after the restart and lead for 5 laps, but unfortunately, Casey Corner would have an engine failure on lap 255, which means he's out. And then Bobby Swift would take the lead after the restart. 3 laps later, Kevin Harvick would take the lead from himself, leading for just 2 laps before lap 260, where Lightning McQueen would retake the lead, leading all the way until lap 265, where Carl Edwards would retake the lead, leading for 3 more laps before Dale Earnhardt Jr. would take the lead from him. He would lead for 8 laps before Clint Bowcar would take the lead from him, leading for 2 laps before Denny Carlin would retake the lead, leading for 12 more laps before Greg Beeple, of course, would retake the lead, leading all the way until lap 295, where Tony Gassworth would take the lead from him, leading for 2 more laps before Cal Weathers would retake the lead, leading 2 more laps before Joey Logano would take the lead for himself for 7 laps. And then after that, Cal Weathers would retake the lead, leading for 3 laps. In the meanwhile, Joey Logano would fail to wreck Cal Weathers. Joe Brakecheck would be out because of an engine failure on lap 309. Lightning McQueen would take the lead after the restart, leading for 6 laps before Kyle Busch-Tire would take the lead for a few yards before Lightning McQueen would retake the lead, leading all the way until lap 322, where T.G. Castlenut would take the lead from himself, leading all the way until lap 343, where Dale Earnhardt Jr. would take the lead, leading for 4 laps before Matt Kenseth would take the lead once again, leading all the way until lap 352, where Lightning McQueen would retake the lead, leading for 6 more laps. But then Kyle Busch-Tire would be 6th as of lap 358, would wreck Jimmy Cables and T.G. Castlenut. Why? Greg Shiftwright had this to say after the crash. Greg Beeple would take the lead after the restart and lead until lap 362, where Doug Throttleman would take the lead from himself for 6 laps. And then the Rocket Ryan Newcar would rocket up to the front until lap 373, where he would be overtaken by Lightning McQueen, who would lead until lap 392. In the meanwhile, Joey Logano would be 21st as of lap 385, when he wrecked Jamarcus K-Kart. Why? And then Carl Edwards would take the lead from Lightning McQueen, then lead 2 laps before Denny Carlin would take the lead for himself, leading another 2 laps before Cal Weathers would retake the lead and lead for 4 more laps before Matt Kenseth would take the lead for himself, leading for 4 more laps before Paul Racedraft would take the lead for himself, leading for 3 laps before Lightning McQueen would retake the lead, leading all the way until lap 425, where Reb Meeker would take the lead from him, leading for 3 laps, and then Kyle Busch-Tire would be 7th as of lap 427, where he'd wreck Cal Weathers. Why, you mean yellow car? And then Jeff Burton would take the lead on lap 427 and lead until lap 431, where the other jumper, Doug Throttleman, would jump over him. 4 laps later, Bobby Swift would retake the lead, leading until lap 438, where Greg Beeple would retake the lead, leading until lap 447, where Brick Hicks would take the lead for the first time this race. Then 2 laps later, Dale Earnhardt Jr. would take the lead for himself, leading for 10 laps. The mean green car, Chick Hicks, said this to his younger brother Brick, and Brick Hicks gave no response. Good job, Brick. And Mike Yankee Jr. would take the lead on lap 459, leading for just one lap before Greg People would take the lead for himself. 5 laps later, Clint Bokar would be back in the lead, leading until lap 466, where Greg People would retake the lead, leading for 9 laps before Denny Carlin would retake the lead. But on lap 481, Greg People would retake the lead, leading for 2 laps before letting his teammate Matt Karzith pass him for the lead. And he would lead the final 17 laps to win the 2012 Florida 500. Dale Earnhardt Jr. would finish second this race, Greg People third, Denny Carlin fourth, Jeff Burnton fifth, Lightning McQueen 6th, Paul Race Draft 7th, Kevin Carvick 8th, Carl Edwards 9th, and Bobby Swift, the defending champion, rounding out the top 10. And here are the full results for the 2012 Florida 500, where some cars did quite well, some not so much. I've referred to pretty much every car this race except for Ricky Speedhouse Jr. Ryan Newcar was the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 23rd this race. Look at how many cars wrecked out, and not a single car ended up getting lapped this race.
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
The 2012 Piston Cup season has gotten off to a nice start, with Matt Karzith leading the points as he won the 2012 Florida 500, winning his second Florida 500. Comment down below how you think the next part of the 2012 Piston Cup season will go. The first part of the next 34 races of the 2012 Piston Cup season will be coming out soon enough. And also comment down below who you think will win the 2012 Piston Cup. Just over 10 years later, the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine would begin. A war that is still going on over 18 months later, in the present, in late August of 2023. A time far too long. Nobody asked for this war. Nobody did. Except for the tyrant and bully Vladimir Putin, who gave the order to Russian soldiers to cross the border into Ukraine. The Ukrainian people just want to live in peace and have freedom. But millions of people had to flee Ukraine because their homeland was no longer safe due to the tyrant Vladimir Putin. And it's even worse for the Ukrainians in the occupied territories, who are now subject to Vladimir Putin's tyranny. Why did he have to do this? Has he forgotten that he controls the largest country in the world, and a country that is also plentiful in natural resources, and has hundreds of millions of people? Why would he need to start a war to get more land? It's just greed. We here at the hashtag KABullets YouTube channel stand firmly with Ukraine. We don't just support peace, we also support Ukraine's territorial integrity being restored. The territory that you see on this screen. This map includes Crimea and the Donbass, alongside the other occupied territories of Ukraine in the Kherson, Zaporizhia, and Kharkiv oblasts. But a combination of factors, including the international community having Ukraine's back, the Ukrainian counteroffensive, and the will and tenacity of the Ukrainian people, as well as the effectiveness of the Ukrainian military, among other factors going Ukraine's way, will help Ukraine win this war in the end. Slava Ukrainie! Heroям слава! Нехай швидше дарується Україні перемога!